Donc nous sommes dans le cadre d'un événement de Voyage en Terre Bio qui accompagne le Congrès mondial de l'agriculture biologique et un objectif...
So, Voyage en Terre Bio, the objective of Voyage en Terre Bio is to welcome the farmers of the whole world on our territory and to organize different events with them. The main objective is to organize different, to have a kind of cross point of views.
Et que les gens du cru aussi puissent discuter avec les congressistes et aussi des intervenants.
So we will try to organize a discussion. We have different speakers from the Congress. We have different people present, and we will talk about our motto, which is the roots inspire life, about organic agriculture, and we would like to share on the values of organic agriculture. So today we talk about cross-linked looks at organic farming. Il va falloir que je me lève parce que là c'est infernal, je peux pas. Donc, we are, of course, extremely proud to welcome this Congress, International Congress on Organic Agriculture, on our soil and ground. It is, and this Congress has been imagined and organized by the president of one of the founding fathers of this Congress series. It was a long time ago, and unfortunately, we never had the opportunity to host the Congress till this year. So we travel from one continent to the other. And it is a little bit like the Olympic Games, you know. We reach the end of the Congress and we decide who is going to be the next host, etc. So anyway, it's our turn now, and we are particularly happy about that. So we know that Brittany is one of the major agricultural regions, if not the first producer in France. So very quickly, I am a researcher at the INRA. It is the National Lab for Agricultural and Agronomic Research in France. This Voyage en Terre Bio, which is a journey on organic land, started 20 years ago. When I started 20 years ago, we had to think about what the seeds would be for organic agriculture. So we needed a certain kind of regulation, etc. So we raised question already at that moment. Now, biodiversity can't be separated, and biodiversity can't be separated from agriculture, and of course it had to be in line with the respect of biodiversity, feeding biodiversity, etc. So to think organic thanks to biodiversity means to think about the future development. I've been working, as I said before, for more than 20 years with farmers and their seeds and the selection of seeds. And we will talk about organic agriculture as something which is a societal project, an ethical project, and well, it is a social organization in a certain way. which is particularly important to promote diversity. So we have Jacques Caplat, who is an academic. He has written a thesis on anthropology. Jean-Michel Florin, co-manager of the agricultural department of Voyage en Terre Bio. J'entends rien, je ne peux pas traduire des noms que je n'entends pas, excusez-moi, c'est un petit peu difficile. Ludovic is with us. Véronique Chable. Ludovic is also the representative of the city of Rennes. He works on sustainable development and agriculture. Then we have Gauthier Chapelle. Gauthier Chapelle is also a researcher and a writer. And then Corentin is a PhD student. Corentin. And his work has been received an award from the Foundation Terre Solidaire. He received an award from this foundation, and he deals with ecological justice and equity. No, sorry, justice. So the idea is not to dwell into details, but it is, to make you feel what organic agriculture is about in France, what kind of challenges are connected with it, what is at stake. And maybe you could start with your story of organic agriculture.
Donc, oui, pour développer un tout petit peu ma présentation, je suis fils de paysan.
I am a son of a farmer. I was born on a farm. I grew up there, and I'm part of the funders of Semences Paysannes, farmers' seeds.
On les contournait, on jouait avec, on ne les transgressait pas. On utilisait justement le fait d'avoir des programmes de recherche.
And we had research programs to exchange seeds. Now the regulation changed, and it has become a little bit easier. Now, Véronique is a little bit modest when she says that the candidature of Rennes, etc., but she is really at the heart of this project.
Alors sinon, moi, je trouve que je suis aussi président du FOAM France. Donc c'est normal que je sois au congrès du FOAM.
It is absolutely normal for me to be at this congress because I'm a part of the board of IFOAM France. I do not represent the organic farmers because they do represent themselves individually and very well. What exactly do you want me to talk about tonight, Véronique? Because there are so many things that I may talk about.
Qu'est-ce que, à ton avis, dans ce développement de l'agriculture biologique
with this development of organic agriculture over the past 10 years, what is the most important that we should concentrate on? What is it that we should favor? I mean, we know about a more healthy food and more healthy ways of doing things and social consequences. So what is the message that you would like to convey from your point of view and according to your experience to be an inspiration for others? Oh, thank you very much. It's very ambitious. Well, what is at stake today is to keep in mind and even to direct the look of people on what organic agriculture is since the beginning. Because there are many, many things dealing with organic matters, without knowing exactly what it is about. So we tend in the European agricultural world, but not only in Europe, to consider that agriculture is something that exists at the singular, it is universal, and then whether chemical or not chemical, if it's not chemical, it's organic, if it's chemical, it's normal, or conventional, or industrial. It's like speaking about farmers and agricultural managers, things like that, etc. There is a mix-up of different opinions. So organic is not necessarily without chemistry, despite the fact that this is the way how it is being defined. In fact, agriculture does not exist. Agriculture does not exist as such. There are many different agricultures with an S, plural. Many different forms of agriculture have developed along with humanity, and in each form of agriculture there are different agronomical visions, different relationships with human living beings, let's say. And social relationships were different, etc. Within all those different forms of agriculture, there is one that history revealed as dominating. It is the one that led to the fertility in Iraq and Iran, which is Persia, as it was a long, long time ago, the fertile part of the beginning of the civilization, and then it extended, and then it became industrial, and then there was the Green Revolution, etc. in the 70s, and had nothing to do with environment, by the way. Green is not standing for environment. So this conventional agriculture is only one amongst others. So one fundamental point, if we want to think about agriculture in general and develop organic in particular, it is that this conventional agriculture is based on choices. There is nothing universal on it and with it. The fact that on a field there is only wheat growing, it is not agriculture. It is not a precise choice of conventional agriculture, for instance. The fact that you increase surfaces to have a better ratio and yield and engines that may work the soil, this is a choice to standardize, to become it industrial. This is why engines have been developed at the beginning of the 19th century. So this agriculture, with its roots in the antique, because it's I mean, going back to Aristotle and the antique, the world is about summarizing and making things simple. So anyway, agriculture is agricultures, again, making different agricultures according to different models. Of course, organic without chemistry is good, but there are more things than that, just behind that, and there are other ways to do it. Now, we have been talking about what is at stake. Well, from the moment on you know that, and you acknowledge that, you have to raise the question, what is it that you want to have? What is the behavior, the relationship with living beings, with human beings, of course, with society, with the environment, with the world? And it is the relationship which is important. So it is the building up of those relationships which are extremely important. It's not due to the hazard. If today agriculture management and managements go along with climate change, go along with obesity, go along with the confiscation of land, with the vanishing of indigenous populations, etc. You see? So again, there is not even one organic agriculture. There are different agricultures and different even organic agricultures. There are different techniques. There are different ways of doing things. Once you have accepted that, it helps understanding what is going on, like industrialization. Industrialization of agriculture means already talking about standardization,
Il y a vraiment une cohérence globale qui se construit. Et je pense qu'une fois qu'on a vraiment cette cohérence,
disappearance
ça va tout seul.
of farmers, of traditional farming also, etc. And I think that organic farmers know a little bit about it. Now, we, of course, sitting here and talking to you, we think about it and we develop thesis on that. So we maybe it's normal that we know a little bit more. But the question is it relevant? Because sometimes if it's not relevant, it means maybe that there is a compromise behind it. Why not? A compromise is okay, but you have to question the compromise always. It's never forever a compromise, because people think that, well, they have decided to go for a compromise and then it's forever and ever, it's graved in marble, etc., and it will never change. That's really a pity. It should not be like that. A compromise has to be questioned regularly. Now, that was a little bit a kind of a general concern, and I'm going to hand over to Jean-Michel. Jean-Michel. He knows about so many things.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Yeah, so I'll perhaps have a different point of view. So Jacques talked about his vision of the world, and the way our vision of the world has an impact on everything that you can see around us, the situation in which we find ourselves today. I don't know if you looked, around yourself in your cities, your villages, the different gardens that you can see and how different they are. And so this is our view of the world around us, and it's in a way, let's say, a view of how people see the world. You see, it's quite an interesting exercise to do. And so, well, when you see what we see and what we look at the situation of the earth and what we see what's falling on our heads all the time. I don't know if you really, the media talk about it, but anyway, this is the reflection or the vision of the world, the way we consider the world, and the environment in which we are, and that's quite it's quite something. Anyway, so if I could perhaps describe this differently, and this is my, let's say, my first assumption. If we consider the situation we are in, if we take, for instance, I believe that the situation we are in is rather alarming in a way, and we believe in it. It's as if nature is really turning on us. It's too cold here, or it's too hot here, there's too much rain here, and so on. So at the same point in time, you'll have a cold and damp climates west of Europe, and then in the east and south of Europe you have fires in Turkey and in Greece and so on. It's the same in the US. On the east coast it's quite damp and cold, and then on the west coast it's so hot up to Canada. So what's happening? So if we consider nature and the various elements in nature, how can we really understand them? We could consider them as working together as a whole. And that's what makes our climate, it's what makes our environments. And we see that each natural element has a different way of expressing itself. And so how can we consider these elements? And how have we been considering them for the last, let's say, centuries? And so we see them as forces, mechanical forces, that are used to their extent. And so if we take, for instance, dams, you see, so you try to stop water with a dam, and then you'll have a few openings to let's say, to manage to control the water, right? And then you have various intermediary stages, or let's say places in which you will try to contain water, usually at ground level. But anyway, if you consider each natural element, they are considered separately, and we consider them, usually humans consider them as in how they can use them, how we can use them, right? And they usually react or interact with us in very violent manners. So how can we, or should we, let's say, consider them within ourselves, right? Should we consider them, let's say, in a way that we would be at peace with them? Or perhaps in a more practical approach, could we perhaps, in considering farming, let's say, right, in the environment of agriculture, of farming, so we operate things, we manage things, right, nature, right, so it's not only, let's say, digging holes and so on. Farming is really managing a farmland, right? So how can we change our approach, change our interaction with nature and the various natural elements? Because we use them, we exploit them, or we are at war with them, right? We stop them from expressing themselves, okay? And so, and in doing so, well, we fight them. So if we consider the elements in nature as, let's say, some kind of form of life in nature, right? Well, we can quite easily consider that as a natural element, the same as we are natural elements, well, the elements in nature, they need to express themselves. And so how can I, in the way I manage my farmland, how can I allow nature to express itself? Now, to give you an example, I'm a trainer, I'm a teacher, right? So when I give my courses, well, sometimes I take my pupils out to the farmland, and we take some time and we just look at nature. Okay, so water, where is water? Where can we see water? Water is either underground, or you can see it in ponds or rivers, whatever. And so based on what we see, we try to consider the various interactions. So you have to understand that it's not only the practical aspect of the management of the farmland, right? Sometimes it can go beyond the physical or chemical aspects of nature. There are parts of the earth that need to express themselves the same way animals express themselves, right? So, okay, if we try to listen to nature and how nature tries to express itself, well, then we can interact with it and understand what nature is telling us. I can't dwell too much on this because, well, I don't want to take up all the time of this conference. But anyway, we see that we have, whatever we consider in nature, we see, if we take, for instance, biodynamics, right? We'll have to consider nature in a different approach than we usually consider it. So, if we take mushrooms, for instance, or fungi are seen as pests or diseases, right, or bringing pests and diseases. Well, no. If we consider them differently, right? If we say, okay, well, if we find these, we find them usually in damp places. So if we find mushrooms, okay, well, this means that it's a damp area, sorry, and in this area, in this world, right? Okay, we have a place for fungi. We have a place for mushrooms, right? Because every element in nature has its place in nature, right? So obviously, it's a very different approach to nature and understanding nature than we usually have. But that's the way we approach nature in biodynamics. I know a few farmers who consider nature and life in nature the way I do, and instead of considering diseases and illnesses in nature, well, they consider the various opportunities in nature. So I think my final message, or my main message, is that every element in nature should be allowed to express itself, right? And we need to welcome all these elements in nature within our environment and just change our attitude in our interaction with them, right? So it's not teddy bears and lollipops, right? What I'm talking about. I'm just trying to let you know that, yeah, I think there should be a different way to interact with nature. Thank you.
Bonsoir. Moi, je vais rebondir sur ce qui a été dit tout à l'heure sur cette tendance à aller vers une déclinaison chimique.
So trying to explain a bit more about the chemical approach or non-chemical approach, or rather should I say the technical or non-technical approach to nature. The thing is, when you have this type of discussion, whatever the topic, right, it usually is a very objectifying approach, whatever the form of farming you consider, right? And there should be a type of farming that would not include the farmer, right? And this would be, let's say, the type of agriculture that we see in the future. If you consider, for instance, connected agriculture or connected farming. So what is missing to kind of balance this approach, technical or non-technical approach to farming? I think to do so, we need to come back to understanding human beings. And I will go about this as in considering the organic people, the organic world, right? And so we, in so doing, we consider human beings who want to live in harmony with the living world in which they find themselves, in which they are integrated in a way. So this organic world, organic pupil, it's a very nice wording, but what is a pupil? A pupil is an identity. So each and every one of us, so myself, you, all of us here. And if you start by trying to understand who you are, well, we all consider ourselves independently, right? And so that makes it quite difficult to consider the pupil. So what I usually do, and this is the topic of my research, right? And so what I try to let's say focus on is discourse, and discourse, namely about what a thing is. What are things? And so I think we need to understand what things are in the realm of agriculture. So what are plants? What is an organic plant? What is a non-organic plant? What is an organic animal? What is an organic soil? What is an organic water? And so, in other words, what are all these entities? And we are saying what all these entities are. And so I'm going to echo Jean-Michel. If you consider a garden, and you see the different gardens and you see the different images or visions of the world of the various people who do these gardens. And so I'll stop at plants, right? But anyway, so if you consider plants, so this plant, my discourse on this plant will let you know who I am. So I'm in a way telling you about my identity in giving the identity of this plant. So it goes quite further than what we have done so far. There is, in a way, let's say, a definition of ourselves as a pupil, as I said, as a community, an organic community or an organic pupil. And so usually people share a language, right? This is the basis of a pupil. This is really what defines us, the way we say things, so what we say, our language. But then there's also a territory, right? An area in which we live. So what is the organic territory? And because we are talking here about, traveling in organic lands. So I'd rather see this as a organic continent. A continent is something that you can really, let's say, understand and as a geographical entity, right? And so there are different continents, I'd say, throughout the world, which are not necessarily a continuity of land. So there's not necessarily a continuity of organic lands, but that's not so much the problem. What I'm trying to say is that living things are not something that we should isolate this is living things, or life is something that you should consider as present all over the world. And so the organic continent is world, you see, or the project should be that we want our planet Earth to become this organic continent. And so to come back to the people, I would like to see us head towards a constitution, you see, draft a constitution with a government. Why not a parliament, various assemblies of this organic people, this organic continent. So it's kind of an utopia I'm referring to here, but why not? Why not? I think it's very important for us to consider all these things in order for us to prepare the future we want to live in, and to perhaps overlap these visions that we have or should have or could have with reality. So I would like to illustrate what I just say with art. So we have this duet of singers who have I think in 2007 they worked on a certain number of installations in Antarctica, and which they shared with humanity in various exhibitions throughout the world. And so the idea was to inspire themselves by life in Antarctica. And so the topic of their exhibitions was to imagine the flag of Antarctica, a passport of Antarctica, which are quite symbolical objects, right, when it comes to identity, right? And so, obviously, I mean, we're talking about symbols here, right? But these are symbols that's, you see, I mean, as soon as you start interacting with symbols, objects, well, you're already getting somewhere, if you see what I mean. And I think they organized 2 exhibitions so far. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that, okay, if we start from this assumption that we have this continent, right? So theoretically we could all go there, but in reality no one is going to go there, right? So it's a real continent, but it's also an imaginary continent, okay? And it's kind of the same as our organic continent. You see, it exists. There are organic lands here and there, but it doesn't really exist because there's no continuity. So yeah, that's more or less what I could say so far. It's kind of sharing this assumption for our future. It's kind of a very broad assumption in a very broad future, but why not? I think we need to take time to think about it anyway. C'est vrai, 20 minutes. Bon, encore 4 minutes, à 10. Right, I think that now we want to give the hand to our representative to draft the constitution and take it for a go. Anyway, good evening everyone. Thank you very much for having us. Thank you, Yves, for your very warm welcome here on your farm. It's always very nice to come visit you. So I'm a representative here of the Rennes community, so I'd like to tell you a few things about Rennes. We don't have too much farmland in Rennes, but I mean we still have a few farms around the city, and so this allows us to interact with farmers. And so I'd like to tell you through how we consider the development of farming and organic farming. So just to start with, I think Jacques, you're perhaps in a better position than me to talk about this, but I guess that agriculture has contributed to settle humanity. And I guess that we are at a time in life, especially if we consider the ecological crisis we are in, the fact that we are really in this phase of our life. Gauthier is perhaps going to be more precise about this when you take the floor. Anyway, but we live in times where society are completely disconnected from life, disconnected from land, from soil, from nature. And I guess that these new trends of organic farming will allow us to settle humanity again, to settle our communities again, in that it will allow us to connect with nature, with the environment, and to perhaps bring meaning back to our lives. Now, in Rennes, we have 3 different ways to develop organic farming. And the first way we do this is to develop the farmlands that still belong to the city. So we try to lend them or to make them available to people who want to develop organic projects, right? And the idea behind this is to allow people to become more autonomous. So we have this project of Maison du Vivant, Maison Paysanne. This is a seeds project. So the idea is to develop various installations in which we will grow on the basis of various organic seeds. And so obviously this will have a positive impact on our agriculture. The reason why we do this is that Rennes has, let's say, an approach that is to integrate organic products in the food of children in schools. So we have obviously various challenges in so doing, but I think we so far have 30% of organic products in the food that we feed our children in our schools in the city. So that's already something, but it's not enough, obviously. And there's not only the environmental challenge here, but there's also the, let's say, the social justice challenge, right? And so in schools, we believe we have this opportunity to develop this approach. Now, the second thing, perhaps, okay, to dwell on the first point and the reason why we develop organic farming in Rennes. Well, I mean, we start on aspects, obviously, but I guess that the way we make a land available to project holders is in a way to, let's say, to test these approaches. And so we do this at the level of the city. I hope that at some point in time we will be able to spread and set an example for, let's say, regions, countries and the whole world. But then also what is possible in Rennes is to favor new ways of human organizations. To give you an example, okay, lately we opened this place which is dedicated to, let's say, raise awareness to the local communities with regards to the way we treat the environment when, let's say, growing our food, right? It's also a place where people can meet farmers, producers, and so on. And it's also a way for us to, let's say, in some kind of a cooperative approach of farming to develop let's say, this dynamic of making the nature around us our ally, right? And so we help farmers to use the land that is around them, right? And it's a way for us, we believe, to create this link between the people and life, the link between people and the soil, the earth. And the message we want to put out there is that, well, we need to protect the soil, we need to protect the earth around us. And then the third point is how can we develop organic farming. So I talked about social justice, right? And quite often Dominique Paturel talks about food democracy, right? The idea being that all the people who live in Rennes may have access to a place where they can develop organic food, right? And this obviously means a big change for our city, a big change of all our organizations, the way we are organized. And in Rennes, we certainly have a long way to go. But I mean, still, we have this idea. We want to develop these few projects. So we have the project of a school in which the children will learn how to cook. Because, well, it's the next generation, our children will, we hope, allow us to take this transformation further. We will work on developing a map of all the organic products that we have in the area. The idea is to help people to have an easier access to organic products. Because we have noticed that there is a real problem of access. Why? Because, well, we've lost control, right, to the market. So that's more or less what we try to do in Rennes. A few examples of what we do in Rennes, and which will lead us to, let's say, organize ourselves perhaps in a better way and plan the way the people may, let's say, regain control of the land, the soil, the earth around us, right? By let's say, or through these various projects. So I mentioned the cooking school, I mentioned the various organizations that we try to foster, right? So here again, what we try to test here in Rennes is a way for us to fight. I don't like the term fighting, but anyway, we want to fight to allow the development of organic farming in a very critical time with regards to the market, critical time with regards to globalization, especially concerning Western societies. So that's, in a few words, what Rennes does and what Rennes wants to do, and I hope that we can do much more.
Thank you very much, Ludovic. I will just follow up on what you said to answer Veronique's question, how far organic is inspiring life. And this is how I would like to connect with the vibrations in a certain way of our participants, something that struck me over the past days, beyond all the technical parts that we touched upon, but we have not tonight touched upon it. There is a societal dimension, and I would like to talk about the power of life that you can really feel for people dedicating their life to organic agriculture, but also passion and also love for plants, for earth, for the animals, and also love which is necessary amongst human beings to move on, but also the love of values like being, like gratitude and being astonished, and maybe a last word, which is help, to help out. This help is inspiring organic, which is inspiring life, etc. Help, and to help out. As a biologist and naturalist, I had some thoughts about it, and it is something new for the public, because helping out the others, etc., is new within our society, but it is very old in terms of nature, So helping out is present. We have symbiosis a little bit everywhere. We have all the multicellular beings. We are part of that. All the ones having more than one cell do work together with microorganisms. This is really the minimum and the basic definition of a symbiosis. This is, and I do not want to talk about viruses, but at least bacteria function that way. Anyway, it takes this helping out kind of system. So the help and helping out others is another kind of the jungle book, which is in French translated differently and could be translated differently, like the regulation of jungle or jungle regulation, the law of the jungle. So we tend to forget within our society the fact that we are hypersocial and we are also extremely good in helping out. It starts very quickly. Even before knowing how to speak, we know how to help out. And it's a great feeling. It's a kind of feel-good thing, you know. When you look at people helping out others, it's wonderful for your brain. So we are supposed to do this, and then cultures and our systems of education, growing up, etc., sometimes leads to something different. But it's not the case at the beginning. And there is another example of this capacity to help out. It is, or this kind of social peace. It is what happens when there is a lack. It is for all the species the same. But when there is a crisis, when there is a lack, helping out increases because it becomes indispensable. We systematically stress and point out the correlation. Competition is a luxury of abundance, but helping out is indispensable when you are in a crisis and lacks. And if you lose the competition when there is a lack and a crisis, then it becomes extremely dangerous. But we do not necessarily need the crisis for helping out to exist and for having existed all those years. I would like to come back on my favorite story, which is a metaphor, and that may inspire every one of us in relationship with organic, agriculture, etc. It is the story of this very long cooperation between plants and mushrooms. It is a symbiosis which is very well known. It starts with the fact that the major part of plants at their root level are connected to the mycelium, which is the real body of the mushroom, and which is connected so intimately to the roots of plants that if you try to separate them, you tear off everything. And this means for those studying them, investigating them, that it takes a word for both roots and mycelium and mushrooms. So it has to be a kind of double word. So the mushrooms are good for collecting water and mineral salts in the earth, and then and the plants with their roots do deliver sugar. It's a kind of helping out system. You see, this is the basic symbiosis. But where it becomes extremely inspiring is that if you take forests, it goes beyond. It's not only the plants working with the mushrooms, it's each plant working with several mushrooms and mushrooms working with several with trees. And it is a researcher lady who demonstrated that 30 years ago in Canada already. You take the youngest trees and the oldest trees. The oldest trees having access to the sun are going to feed not only mushrooms but also the young trees growing all around. It's absolutely fabulous. It's like a family. So they feed all the different little trees and the mushrooms, and it's very tricky because we found out that they deliver even more food to their own children, if I may say so. So, according to, and it works very well. There are some trees liking the sun. Well, those ones are going to deliver more sugar to the mushrooms and also to the trees who have less access to the sun, and the other way around. I mean, it's fantastic. And another parallel, by the way, it is like social security. It is a real solidarity between trees and mushrooms and of different species, etc. And it helps us to look at this jungle law in a very different way. In an anthropomorphological way. I mean, there is a kind of reciprocity there. It is quite inspiring if you compare with the society we are living in, with more or less success. It's only one example in link with this inspiration that we might adopt. In particular, well, organic ways of doing things are particularly inspiring for the interaction with other species. And then there is also this change of paradigm that has been touched upon by Sylvie or Jean-Michel. It is about getting out of our vision of the other species being like objects, but trying to understand that we are all subjects and that helping out and caring for others is important because all living organisms have the right to live. So, I mean, why not taking them as they are? And it sends me back to reciprocity, love and gratitude, and also to a question which is very often raised at ecological level, this human species which is badly considered sometimes in society, has a role to play, and it is to bring back relationship amongst those human beings. Thank you. Hello, and I am a little bit intimidated speaking after Gauthier. Talking about helping out, I'm going to ask him to act and to hold this up. Maybe you could do it even the two of you, and maybe you could roll that out. Now, since the brain does work in different ways, I have decided to make a little drawing to understand what I'm going to tell you about, to better understand. In a few words, and this is going to prolong probably what has been said today, I work on seeds. But in the link with social sciences. And so what happens in a few words within this system? There is an exclusion of those who are not part of a certain way of doing things. And the exclusion creates injustice, unfairness. And the seeds, we talk about, well, with relationships, seeds, with human beings, etc. So when I got interested in seeds, it was a thing of feelings. I didn't know anything about agriculture, plus in Belgium it does not exist really, so I didn't know anything. I mean, I was asking about all the words which were used by researchers, etc., because really I didn't know anything about it. I didn't understand one thing, but I had the feeling that something was happening within seeds that reflects upon our society, and I think I'm right. So today we are facing environmental questions as well as social questions. Sometimes and often they are still separated. The proposal is to talk about ecological justice. And here you can see those different generations helping out each other around the living. And the living, as Gauthier said, sends back and refers to a certain helping out kind of system. or caring, but it's not completely care. And the sociological part is distribution, knowledge, and participation. So it's very often we talk about environmental justice, which is equal to, regulation and laws. But then there are two other elements. First of all, the acknowledgement. The acknowledgement with a human being and an elephant, because, well, why not? I needed an animal. So what is at stake there with the seeds is that, and I probably understood that with a Breton guy who, Christophe de Chaligny, or who died, unfortunately, in between. Within the seeds, you have this idea of building up a relationship. So it is a relationship. Now, be you dealing with conventional or unconventional kind of agriculture, it's quite similar, however different. It means that there is a link, and it means also that humans may understand the signs of a non-human being. Like what happens with, for instance, a horse, between a human being and a horse. And I mean, you can have a dialogue, you can laugh together, etc. So the seeds were excluded. But now, by and by, if you look at the new organic regulation, etc., you open up to seeds. But it's not completely acknowledged yet. If you really want to look at an indicator, and if you really want to know if there is acknowledgement, from the moment on, people work on the variety of selections, etc. There is something else than standardization. It is at the the acknowledgement happens when they are invited to talk about their seeds and what a good seed is. It has been mentioned before by Jean-Michel. The answer is not singular, it is plural. There are answers, there are possibles, because the relations are diverse and because there are different ways and different forms of agriculture. So, within ecological justice, humans, non-humans, there is this idea of coming together to transform this injustice and transform it into justice and fairness. So maybe you are going to ask now, what do you mean with your drawings, which are nice, etc.? What is ecological justice about, etc., and fairness? It's something that has to deal with theory, but also practice. From the moment on, people may experience, it's a little bit like kolkhoz, you know, it's kolkhoz that has been, it's an experimental station that has been created for researchers. So, just imagine a young farmer starts being a farmer as 21 and starts working on a variety of different population of cabbage. This is so but I'm not going to dwell upon that right now, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story of kolkhoz. Well, but there is something like this that happened, and you just need to know that something else has been made possible. And it's not only technical, it's not just collective intelligence gathered around the table. It's a moment where technical and societal stakes came together to experience and try out. So it brings together different ways of looking at things, researchers and farmers, different answers, and it helps to move from being a victim, excluded, to actor, acting within the territory where you live, And it has been pointed out by Sylvie. It has to do with a territory, a language, a coming together, a government, even at a very small scale. And even the association or the federation has rules and a kind of government to be able to function. And so, and so the major thing here, and it has already been discussed and touched upon during the Congress, is that if we want to move on, we have to raise the question of decolonization from, or getting free from domination between humans and non-humans, etc. As regards the living, it means that it is linked with our way to think and our way to act. And during a workshop before, it is well, the major word is reconciliation. It's the challenge. I was talking about it with some people. Well, you have the organic and the non-organics. And I'm not saying that it's easy. I know many stories. It's not always easy, etc. And it's not easy to do, but I believe that if we want to have more people on board, you will have to reach out and to move towards the others. I mean, I do not have so much time, so you understand probably very well what I mean. And this morning, during a workshop, we created a new kind of activity, and hopefully it's going to be financed and supported by governments. It is... Merci. Effectivement, très gentil. Qu'est-ce que j'en fais? We have created a new word, and unfortunately the interpreters do not really know. It is at the margin. It is at the shore, at the border. It is the person who's going to be the interface between the forest and the forest border, and between, well, on the borders, and enabling reconciliation. Thank you very much. Border. Yeah, maybe there is an important word. Kolkhozes, they do have a lot of humor. You know, the farmers who created that. Kolkhoz in Breton means old cabbage. Oh, that's great. So it's not the Russian or the Russian concept.
Thank you. My name is Samia Mamer, and I'm CEO of organic farming for the Tunisian government. So I want to make the most of my time here to thank all of you for organizing this event. Everything you put in this Congress, organizing this Congress, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it must have been so much energy put in here, so much frustration for not seeing all the people who you wanted to see here in Rennes be able to come. So I'm really frustrated for you, right? Because you put so much in organizing this event, so thank you very much. Second thing, well, to be able to meet here in a farm, such as this farm here, and to meet within the frame of this context, but especially to meet with all of you. I think the reason why the people haven't really reacted straight away is because, you know, you took us on a trip in this organic world, and so I think all the people here are still far away from reality, from Rennes. We are all, somewhere up in the sky or somewhere in a different world, and this, in any case, has allowed me to dream about organic farming in a way different than the way we know it. And I've been working for so long, so many years in any way, on trying to find new ways to consider organic farming, that this has been really an exceptional experience. So thank you very much, and thank you for giving us hope in the various opportunities and possibilities that we have to develop organic farming and to go beyond what we believed so far we could do. And so together with you, we can take this really, really far. So I'm so sorry for being so long with the mic anyway, but thank you very much indeed. Well, thank you very much. Very touching message. Thank you very much. Okay, well, Véronique perhaps wants to answer, because I mean, she really has initiated the idea of this Congress, and I've been very happy to be part of the organizing team. And even though, well, yes, we are very sad and frustrated in a way to not have all the people we wished to see, but, well, you know, I didn't know Véronique, and so we met. And from this meeting, well, you know, came up this great energy which has allowed us to organize these various events, projects. I think that what we can say is that the people who have benefited the most from this energy is, well, you know, we. So, and this is, I think, what helping each other is all about. And it's true that when we started, well, we met so many people, and actually along the way and along the years, we've met so many people in so many different activities, industries, meeting within the frame of our organizations, our federations, but also outside our organizations or federations. So we met with so many people, and we learned a lot, and so we wanted to share everything that we learned, or at least as much as we could, with all the people who couldn't come, because, well, we really believe that organic is something that concerns everyone, or everyone should be concerned with or about. And this is, I believe, the spirit in which we created this Congress. We want to integrate organic in everything we do. And this is certainly, in this last year and a half, what has been in our hearts as organizers of this event, to try and make, let's say, the world a better place. Michel Duhamel. I wonder if you could say a few words about the cooperation between plants and humans, and namely taking into consideration the recognition of plants and the different types of possible cooperation. Cooperation between plants and humans, all right, and the recognition of plants. Well, I guess that the same way we discussed about the elements in nature, I think that it all starts with an interior mindset or attitude, right? The first question you could ask a plant: do you know Le Petit Prince from Saint-Exupéry? That's Saint-Exupéry is a French author. Anyway, it's kind of a bestseller. Well, anyway, if you don't know it, Le Petit Prince, this prince comes to Earth, and he asks a key question to everyone he meets. Who are you? Is the question. And I guess that when meeting a plant, it's the first thing we should ask the plant. I've organized a few projects and visits to farmlands and so on. And quite often, you know, when we consider plants, we think about, can we eat it? And that's quite an egotistical approach to nature, to plants in any case. And it's the problem of the attitude, right? Because could we imagine ourselves meeting with a plant and asking the plant, who are you? Hello, who are you? And I'm being serious, right? Could we actually consider that there is this living being, living form of life, and so asking this living being or entity who it is? Well, this is the beginning of an interaction. And if we interact on a regular basis with this plant, if we manage to make the plant feel that we consider it as a living entity, it certainly is going to change the way it interacts with us. So creating the link, yeah. And I guess that at some point in time, this link, and especially if we have real questions. I know that some doctors actually work like this. I know a doctor who one of the patients had a big health problem, and was a woman, and so he was thinking about this. And this one day, a plant talked to the doctor. Well, in that one day he went out to his garden, and he remembered that this plant could help me for this or that, right? And so it's true that we are quite often trying to extract everything from plants, to use them for this or that. But sometimes, the plants can actually help us out. The plants will interact with us to help us. But anyway, I mean, that's obviously a very, let's say, I guess it would require an in-depth study of the possibilities of this interaction with the plants. But I think the first thing is to consider plants as a serious being, right? Right. I do agree with what's just been said, and I guess that the way we consider plants nowadays is changing, right? And I guess this is because we see let's say, some kind of a renewal in our interaction with nature. And more people believe that plants are, in a way, intelligent. And quite often we believe that in plants there is more than just what meets the eye, right? There's this form of activity in plants that would require us to interact with them, let's say, considering them as at least as equals. And actually, by the way, as I'm working on this project, which is about questioning the way we interact with plants, if we consider that we've noticed that animals work, right, and that there are interactions and collaborations between animals and plants, well, if we take this a step further, we would ask ourselves, what about plants? What about microorganisms? Right? So I think we are really moving towards some kind of a sociology of plants and microorganisms, which is completely different to the approach we've had so far. And I guess that it starts by listening, right? So I guess this would allow us to, let's say, think about how plants signal to us that, well, there is this or that message, right, that they have for us, as Michel mentioned. And it also allows us to consider in a different way the different interactions that exist between plants and other entities in nature. So I think we really need to perhaps put the right level of value on each living entity.
Oui, bonsoir, je suis Joël Labbé, sénateur du Morbihan.
Joël Labbé, I am a senator for Morbihan. We've been here with my team. I was in Marseille. I was supposed to spend a week there, and I've heard things. I've heard very interesting things. But then you see, I mean, I'm used to hear big things and big phrases and big declarations. And I really wish to come to visit you because it's organic farming, because it's in Rennes, because it's in Brittany. And I want to say out loud here in front of everyone that this day has been quite a day. I took part in a workshop this morning about agriculture and philosophy. Wow, it was the first time I heard people talk about philosophy, and let's say some kind of technical philosophy. I'm used to hear philosophical approaches and financial and technocratic approaches in Parliament, but I think we need more philosophy, we need more poetry, and this is exactly what I heard today. I guess that in organic farming there is meaning, and organic farming has meaning for the farmer itself, but not only for the farmer, for the consumers also. And I think this is extremely important to note. So, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take too much of your time. So you talked about plants. I looked into plants because this afternoon I met with various people who told me about my work in Parliament, fighting for banning pesticides and so on. So for 4 years, I've been in politics for quite some time, and I learned how to be patient. Anyway, so I've been working for quite some time, and I learned a lot about plants, about medicinal plants. Because most plants are medicinal, and it's true that some people know a lot about plants, and even though they don't know exactly what plants are for, they know that they are there for something, right? And I guess that if we put aside the alchemy of soil, the ground, the link between humans and earth, we talked about reconciliation, right? So I guess that we need to find a reconciliation between humans and their fellow humans. So yeah, I'm going to try and be very quick and take this, but it's very important. Next year, during the second half of 2022, I am going to file a bill to fight for the rights of plants and medicinal plants, and independent medicinal plant growers, right? And I was told that no, I wouldn't be able to achieve this because of big pharma, right? But anyway, well, we are working, and we're working with the media, and we're going to work with various stakeholders of medicinal plants, and we will draft this bill, and we'll make sure, with the help of legal experts namely, we will make sure that it has an impact, because I don't want it to be just some kind of progressive leftist bill, or just some kind of political paper. No, so we are really trying to do this cross-border, right? We try to work with the whole political spectrum in order to draft the best bill possible for the benefit of us all, right? And we've been told that you need to find the majority in order to get that bill through. But we will find the majority. We just need to find the right power, and the power is in the people. It is in the people if we give them the opportunity to express themselves. And so this is exactly what we will do next year, and it will certainly have a very good impact socially, economically, environmentally, and so on. And all the people who are interested in this happening will be able to learn more about the project, and we will do our best to represent them, and we will do our best to make sure that, this is a success. Because it's true that quite often, when there is this or that bill, where people are just going to go and demonstrate for this or that. Okay, we have this senator who's been quite who's try to get our word out there, but and even though I do respect my colleagues, quite often it's just because they are they are backbenchers, so they just have to do what the party says, and then you have all the the lobbyists that will influence them. And yeah, unfortunately, too often this is the case in the political realm. So we will do our best to make sure that this is different this time. So I just wanted to share this example. And once again, I would like to thank the organizers, thank the speakers here for your energy. And this energy is certainly shared by many people here. And I'll end on this. I think the new generations need this energy, you know. When you're young, you need your project for your future. So what can our society, what can our generation present them for their future, right? We don't know what the future has in store for us. But so many people unfortunately say, okay, we don't want children. But a society, a community that doesn't have children is doomed to die. So we're going to have to find them a good reason to have children. We need to help them make children, have children for our future. And I guess that this is obviously a very difficult situation we are in, but we need to find a way to save our history, to save our society, to save our community. And this can only happen with the help of the younger generation. So we need to work with them. We need to help them. And so I think this is our role all together. We need to tell them it's possible, and we need to help them do this. And I guess that organic farming is the answer to this. I've been too long, very sorry. Thank you very much for bearing.
That was passionate, and no, it was not too long. Don't worry. I would like to react. Of course, we know each other very well, Joël. It is. I'm not critical. When you say that Gilles Clément says, "I don't know what those plants are for, but they are useful." Yes, sometimes we have useless plants, and it is absolutely important. We also need those spaces and those useless things. You know, why not? I mean, we need to find something positive in all that with this pandemic kind of smell. We need to recreate space and use the space. Taoism has a classical motto: a door is used, a container is interesting as such only if it is empty, etc., etc., etc. There is nothing else to add to what you said. La loi Labbé, in the law, Labbé will remain in history, of course. And but again, it is important to remember that uselessness is also important.
Okay, so I would like to tell a few words from ex-socialistic part of Europe, because I think we are only two with Paulina from ex-socialistic countries today, so from Poland in our case. And first of all, I want to tell, well, I am a professor, my name is Seweryn Białkowska, I am a professor at Warsaw University of Life Sciences, and also I am the founder and leader of Polish Association of Organic Agriculture. So what I want to tell that we have completely different situation in Poland and many other ex-socialistic countries than you have in France. For example, we heard that here in Rennes you have 70% of organic food in schools for children, while in Poland at the moment there are only maybe 1 or 2 schools introducing organic food at all. I'm leading at the moment 2 projects trying to introduce organic food into Polish kindergartens and primary schools. And we were lucky to introduce organic fruits in one of the schools, and it was a great success, which was published in media, etc. So you can imagine that we are in the way at the beginning of the way. And for us, France is a pattern, is a model, is something to a goal. So we would like to reach something like you have now. Of course, you told that 70% is not enough. We would like all to have 100%. But if we have 1 promille, maybe, then you can imagine how long way we have to go. It depends on the general European policy. It depends on our government. Let's hope that these things will go into better direction. This is one information I would like to share with you. The other is more like impression. When I was listening to all speakers today, I was thinking more and more, of course not only first time, but it was very, very striking that organic is not only the science, it's not only the challenge, scientific challenge to be solved, it's not only the problem, which is fantastic and interesting for us scientists, but it is also something else. It's ethical value, which is observation, which is understanding of living creatures, which is cooperation between humans, and misery, and all these things which are, I would say, we are facing ethical erosion nowadays. We are facing great problems, physical problems like climate change, but also ethical problems, like, for example, as you all know, a conflict on the border of Poland and Belarus at the moment with immigrants, which is very, very bad, very drastic situation. And this is just a small example. We are facing, well, in the future, more and more such situations when immigration is growing because of physical and political changes. And in this context, organic is not only the way of farming, it's also the way of living, the way of thinking. It is something what you told about organic land as a concept, because organic continent is not existing yet. We have only here and there some places which sometimes are quite big, like in India, some provinces are completely converted into organic. But generally, we don't have any kind of real organic continent yet. It's a concept, but it's not only a concept of farming, it is an ethical concept. So thank you very much. I'm deeply moved by your talks, and I think this is a good lesson for all of us. Thank you very much.
Yes, maybe to react on that, and not for you to believe that France is better than the others and more virtuous than others. It is not true. Even if we have 70% of schools here and canteens, etc. I mean, the city of Rennes, really, to be honest, is at the forefront of this. But it is a rare example, okay? At the present time in France, you have less organic food in school canteens than what we are asking for. So don't make France as a model, please. We managed to have a law, a very generalistic kind of law, that says that by the year 22, 50% of the canteen food will have to be sustainable, and from that, only 20% organic, you see? But that's great, that's a good start. But in reality, I think we are, like in Poland, we have only a few percentages. We do not have so many organic products because France did not implement its own law, and it is not because farmers could not produce. It is not the agricultural actors who blocked, even if, yes, okay, but it is the agro industry and the systems and the big lobbies and public authorities that blocked, because they absolutely did not want this law to be implemented. So unfortunately, and despite the fact that it would be great for development because it really delivers a certain certain safety for markets. It creates a relationship between farm and school, etc. It creates links. It's between mankind, living beings, and school, etc. Unfortunately, this law is not implemented. Anyway, but this is pessimistic. So don't finish. Let's not finish with a pessimistic kind of thing. Yes, but I am invested and committed in that, and things are moving on, because there is a pressure that comes from citizens. So we know that things are going to change. Parents do require more and more. They are asking for it, so it's going to happen. We just need to be patient. I would like to thank all the speakers who are saying so many interesting things. I am an organic farmer. Even my parents were doing organic agriculture in the 60s. We have 5 children with my wife, sorry, and I was listening to Joël, so we have children and we have been working on that. Anyway, we produce cheese and milk, or milk and then cheese. We wanted to have the best possible product. And, when you have a good product, you always manage to sell it off. So my son has planted trees, 1,000 last winter, 400 fruit trees amongst 1,000, and of course I have been I've been through this farming with my parents, when we tried to ban chemistry and fertilizers and all that, but it's not enough anymore. You see, you need to go beyond. It takes another dimension, and working with different products every day has educated me. I have a lot of gratitude. Gratitude is really important. We have a kind of spiritual kind of relationship. There is a spirit in all our plants and trees and animals, and in a certain way, we could say that any kind of small animal is the dwarf of a bigger one, for instance. I mean, it's another dimension. And if we are successful, it is because we have started being spiritual. We have a universe above our head. We're very small. We're not going to last. But there are planets. There is a future. There is, biodynamism is about planets. So we do respect that. We respect our cheese. We do that. I mean, organic means life. You can imagine what happened with climate change. We planted 1,000 trees last winter, and we got so many waters. We were blessed. I mean, it has been raining all the time. We had organized water reserves and tanks and all that. Well, nature was there to support us. And it's a social project. It's not easy to work with other people. We have a former science teacher, and all of a sudden she wants to work with us, and she starts milking our goats even before I start, very very early in the morning. She has started acupuncture even on goats. We have never used a chemical on our animals, on our soil. It is absolutely zero. Because when they say organic is 95% of natural, well, what else do you have in those 5%? So we don't have those 5%. We have 100%. We never buy anything, any food at least. We never throw away any food. But it's also possible to lose, because there is one word which has not been used today. It is the word which is valid for humans. It is the word artificial intelligence. Ah, wow. What pollutes life is artificial. Everything that is artificial. Nitrates are artificial. Waves are artificial, you know? It's amazing. We almost lost our farm because of an antenna on a geological break, and I lost 1/3 of my herd of goats, you know? But with strength and determination, we came out of that. This is organic. So my question is, what about this word, artificial? Artificial pollutions. We will have to face that. We will have to be careful about that. If we want life to go on, we will have to deliver a certain meaning. We need to convey meaning to life in general, to our life. This is our reason to be. We are part of the empirical science. We observe, we experiment, we take risks. And our animals never cheat. They never lie, but they express themselves. Well, as regards artificial, just a reaction. Just to put it differently, don't forget that agriculture is a kind of artificial creation of the milieu. It's the creation of another kind of milieu, ecosystem. It's not a problem because today, I mean, humanity lives on this planet, occupies the surface. It's, I mean, it's, you know, hunting and etc. was nice, but I mean, we could have gone on like that. Unfortunately, or maybe we wouldn't be as numerous, and that would be maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing. Creating something artificial is not really the problem, even if I understand what you mean when you talk about artificiality. But what is important is to think about what it takes to keep a balance and what it takes to regulate. And also to become conscious of what you can't regulate and maintain. So with the technique, I mean, each agricultural act is using techniques. Some are good, some are not good. Okay, but sometimes we say for ideological reasons, this is good, this is not good. Philosophical reasons, this is good, this is not good, etc. But there is a disruption there. Some techniques can be mastered at human level or at the level of a rural community. There are some artificialities that you can't master, and this is where the border is. But because you lose your autonomy, the fact that you can't master your choices anymore. Now, to be autonomous, is very important. It's an interesting word because you teach a child how to become autonomous. It's not to teach this child how to live all by himself in the middle of a forest, okay? It's how to teach, how to educate this human being to become autonomous and make his or her own choices. There is a scale of techniques, and the one that you have, of course, mentioned is a problem, that's for sure. But be careful with the word artificial. There are a certain number of techniques and projects, etc. There are some, I mean, everything that belongs to industrialization, very, very, very clearly, we do not master everything, and this is really at stake. I wanted to thank you very much because all your speakers and all your testimonies and what has been said and opening up and relay also, speaking with your heart, etc. We thought that it would be nice it would have been nice to introduce the Congress like that. So it would have been great to have you for the opening. It's just an idea for the next time, okay? Next Congress. Yes, absolutely. And your conclusion is a nice opening.